Clemmer here, and I want to talk to you about open banking and data transparency. And if you've listened to any of my other little broadcasts or podcasts, you know I come down pretty hard on tech and banking. And people not being totally transparent and providing controls for users to just get more control of their digital lives. And so this is a little more upbeat, thankfully. It's about time. And I want to just talk to you about where open banking is going and why I think this is the right approach to the internet and the way things should be on the internet. And let's go from there. So, open banking, just let's just do a little bit of a definition here and ensure that we're all on the same page. But what I'm talking about, open banking, open finance, one of the same. These terms are used interchangeably. And it's an effort by financial institutions and fintechs to provide a method of data sharing or methods of data sharing that are absolutely more secure, locked down, and we're talking about data in motion as a bank is sending it to an aggregator or a fintech, and data at rest, which is when it's sitting in a database somewhere. Just because your database is on a secure computer means diddly squat. That database needs to be locked down, secured, encrypted, all the values individually encrypted, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And that's what we're talking about here. Total absolute security to get into the system, to get into a bank, huge, obstacles, lots of obstacles. And so we make it more secure. Okay. It also requires the customer's consent. It's not merely, open banking is getting away from, you've seen this time and time again, where you download a piece of software, or you're going onto a website, or you're trying to access something, and you get 47,000 pages of legalese, and you have to hit accept. Well, that's not good enough anymore. And now what we're talking about is you're going to get a very simple page that says, hey, by the way, you're granting XYZ company access to your transactions, your accounts, do this, do that, and they're going to be using it, blah, 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 blah. Very clear, very concise, and it's half a page. They've boiled it down, stripped all the legalese out of, the first party, the third party, the second party, all that's gone. Very clear, very concise. And you are now in control and consenting to this data sharing. And you're being advised to the extent of the data sharing. So what open banking is doing is it's ceding control to the consumer. Everybody realizes now, or we've had this lesson thrust down our throats basically. It's the consumer who owns the data. It's not the banks, it's not the fintechs, it's the consumer who owns their digital data. And so now everybody's ceding control to the user so that they have full control over their data, which everybody wants them to share. And what we're doing with open banking is offering a much greater granular degree of control over what data is shared. And this is evolutionary. So the first go around, it was just, hey, you're sharing your data. The second go around was, oh, by the way, you have 10 accounts. Do you want to share all 10 accounts with this fintech, financial technology firm? And if it's a Venmo, well, there's no real reason that I need to give Venmo my kids' accounts. Or maybe I do because I want to transfer money to my kids' account. So I'm going to explicitly allow that. But it's not to the savings account, it's to the checking account because I'm just setting up ways that they can spend money, helping with a debit card or something. So you have complete control. And so where I was going was evolutionary phase two was, so we saw the accounts and now it's, by the way, these guys want to see your transactional data, your balances, your tax data, personal data. So it's being broken down into more granular scopes, and you can say yes to this, no to that, and it will keep going and get more and more granular as we go on and as open banking becomes more sophisticated. And so what is all this doing? It's giving you, the consumer, greater transparency over who's getting the data and what they're doing with it and what data they have access to. So if you've listened to me on prior casts, I've told you that, or kind of informed you that a Venmo, when it comes to get your accounts, they're not the ones coming in. They've contracted out to an aggregator to come in and get your data. Well, now we're exposing who that aggregator is, so you have a greater idea of who's getting your data and what's being done with it. This is all to put you at ease with sharing your data. So you'll get something for nothing, in effect, sometimes. Um, but you'll get some great personal finance app that will help straighten out paying off all your debts, or you'll see how to retire sooner, with better planning. You'll get these things for free by sharing your data. And now you know who's sharing it with whom and why, and how much of your data you actually are feeling comfortable with sharing. So that's open banking. And the early results that we've seen from open banking are users are actually taking advantage of the tools they're given. So we're seeing, and listen, I tried to quantify it. I'm saying 15, 22%. We'll go through some numbers that I'll give you, and it's limited in scope because open banking is relatively new. We've seen roughly, I think it's about 13, 14, 15 million users at this point in time, and we're right now in early 2021. People who've converted over onto Direct Connect, and it's actually a mixed bag as to, based on which financial institution you're dealing with, what sort of level of degree of control you have. The bigger banks are offering greater control. They're all experimenting, trying to see how to best support their users and what their users want. So what are we seeing? So I'm telling you that 15, 22% of all efforts to share data are being limited, declined, blocked, or aborted. And there may be some other verbs I could have thrown here in it as well. And what do I mean by that? Well, you have failed logins, which is users supplying bad credentials. And is that a bad actor trying to steal data? Who knows? Is it somebody who thought they knew what they were doing and didn't? Who knows? The fact of the matter is, we have seen a significant number of failed logins, 5, 10%, whatever. Um, and we see users not completing the initial setup to the flow. So when you go to a fintech that has one of these direct connect flows, what they'll do is they'll say, hey, just like in the old days when they say, hey, do you have any financial institutions? And you say yes, and they ask for your user ID and password. In the new way of doing things, what they do is they transfer you over to the bank. You're now on the bank's web property, and you're doing your basic login to the bank itself. Once the bank has identified you and said, yes, this is, John Doe, they will then send a token back to the fintech saying, yeah, we have the credentials, this is proper, but rather than give you the credentials, we're going to give you a token that's unique to this person and tells us which accounts we're going to share, which everything, et cetera, et cetera. So there's a whole workflow here, and you're asked a bunch of questions, and it takes like 2 minutes to do. But we see a lot of users going through this, and at some point just stopping, going, wait a second, I don't like this, I don't want to do this. We've also, we can blame bad technology as well. There are vendors and there are banks to which, they have, they call it MFA, multi-factor authentication. And you've seen it when you're asked to get an email with a code in it, or you texted a number that you have to put in. That's MFA. And there are some providers or fintech companies or aggregators that just still need to fine tune some of it. So we have a lot of things just stuck in waiting for you to get your code and put it in and continue on. Um, we do see after the fact user denial of service. So, and what do I mean by this? Um, and denial of service is a bit harsh and probably not the best term, but we do see either as a result of the initial setup consent flow, or after the fact, after they've already set this up, users going in and turning off accounts. And it's anywhere in the range from 20 to 30, maybe 31, 32% of accounts are being suppressed and denied access to. And that's a good thing. I mean, that just means that people are saying, hey, yeah, you can have all of my stuff, but I don't want you to have my kids. You can have all of my stuff, but I don't want you to have my wife's, that I share an account with. Whatever it is, users are, rejoicing and gladly taking advantage of this tool that's being offered. So this is a good thing. And we're also seeing that now that fintechs can't have access to everything, they're actually asking for less. And so what you'll see is, and it's usually like the lending guys who initially, all they really need to know is what are their bank accounts, what are their transactions, what are their balances, and, am I going to lend to them? What are their historical balances? I don't need to know all of their other accounts. I'm just looking at the 2 or 3 accounts that they're giving me in their application. So you're seeing guys roll back some information. Now, at the same time, some of these guys, and we've seen this, really want more data from the banks. And some of that is in for verification purposes, like security number, date of birth, address. So there's a little tug of war going on behind the scenes. I'm just letting you know about, we do want more personal data. We may want less financial data or vice versa. So that's going on, and we're working on it. We're getting this worked out and making sure that everybody is happy with it. And then this is what I was saying before, 25, I actually see, we've seen it based on the aggregator and based on the fintech. It's really anywhere from 20 to 30+% of accounts are being blocked. So, conclusion. And I'm cutting this guy short for you guys. I know I like to talk, and so I just wanted to make this short and simple. So we're seeing significant measurable breakthroughs from creating these tools. Users are utilizing any tools they're given. And when I stated this after the fact denial of service, we are seeing, I think it's like 5, 6, 7% of the traffic on the website. So, any of these banks will have some user profile area where you can control which accounts get access or providing access. And, 10% of the traffic on the bank's traffic internally are utilizing these tools. And so what do we see? With an increase in tools, with an increase in the number of tools and the extent of the tools and what they do, we see increased user satisfaction and increased user trust. Users' trust is very high with financial institutions, as well it has to be. If it's not, the banking system goes to pot. So those banks that are offering the greatest granularity and the greatest control are benefiting from an increased user retention rates and account retention rates. So the lessons here, and I'll read it, though I hate to read it. There's three things that's happening here. Providing more security, acknowledging that the data belongs to the user, and thereby giving the user the control over what gets shared, and being more transparent about what you do with consumers' data. These are actually good things. And we're seeing that they increase use and trust. So this was a quickie on transparency. This is, and I'm praying that social media goes and learns these lessons as well and reverts and says, hey, the stuff that you upload is yours. I mean, that's where we have to go at some point, but I'm going to get off that soapbox. So I hope this was informative. I hope you enjoyed it. And stay tuned to another one. And really, thank you for listening. Bye. Hey, just want to say one final thank you for listening to this webcast. If you ever have any questions, you can always reach me at info@onceread.com. And on our website, onceread.com, you can see any more of our videos and they'll take you to the YouTube channel. So again, thanks so much for listening. Have a great day.